Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I wanted to talk about an upcoming game that has a huge amount of potential. Now I'm guessing a large amount of you haven't seen the Tom Cruise movie The War of the Worlds, and if you have seen it or heard of it, you've probably heard it was a pretty bad movie. Now me personally, I really like the movie, just purely because of the sheer horror aspect of it. Sure, it's got some plot holes and some parts that don't really make a lot of sense, but that's mostly because it was never really explained very well in the film. But there are some great theories out there on YouTube you can watch that kind of fills in the blanks really well if you kind of feel that way about the movie. The thing that I've always really wanted to see is a very well made game adaptation, but I haven't found one that really caught my eye until now. There's some old ones from the 90s, I believe, and there was one made a few years ago that wasn't very good. But I did stumble upon this one by accident whilst I was looking at some videos on the film, and I actually found this hidden gem, and I really want to talk about it and show you a few of the reasons why I'm really hyped about this upcoming game, and I wanted to bring some attention towards it. So first of all, it's very closely based on the 2005 film, which in itself is loosely based on the book made by H.G Wells back in, I think it was like the late 1800s. So it's quite an old story, but it's been adapted so many times and it's still really good even today. But this adaptation, the 2005 film by Stephen Spielberg, is probably my favourite because it's set during modern times, so it adds a lot more realism to it almost. Now let's dive into why I'm super excited about this game. It's an open world survival horror action kind of game where the goal is to survive the slaughter. For those that don't understand the plot, it's based on the film, which is the 2005 film. The aliens cause lightning storms, and I'm presuming they come from Mars or wherever they come from in the story of the Tom Cruise film. Basically they cause lightning storms and then they ride the lightning into the ground in pods to where their machines are buried, presumably buried thousands of years prior. They then pilot the machines and come up out of the ground and begin to harvest, making that iconic noise that still sends shivers down my spine. Once they begin the harvest, all hell breaks loose, and as time goes on, more and more of these tripods emerge, and before you know it, there's loads of them roaming around, just picking off as many people as they can as the military desperately tries to find a way to take them down. But they are all incredibly resistant, having shields that defect like 99% of whatever's thrown at them. All this means really is that the military is only able to slow down the aliens, buying time for civilians to flee and find somewhere to hide. That is where you come in. Now obviously that's all stuff that was happening in the film, and so far the games have been completely faithful to that, from what I can tell from the gameplay and the story. Now you are just a civilian, like many others, that now need to hunker down and try not to get caught or evaporated by the machines. You can hide in buildings, but they are quite good at getting rid of those with their machines, with their devices, their weapon systems, and if they don't destroy the building you're in, they might send down a little surprise to see if there's anyone home. That's where the actual, the first part of the horror element comes into the game. When they are sending down their little drones to see if there's anyone inside, you need to be really quiet and stay out of sight while they're searching the building, and if you remain undetected, they may or may not move on. Now as it currently stands, I haven't actually seen any actual footage of the aliens coming out of their tripods like they do in the films, but they have modelled them into the game, so I'm going to assume they'll do what they do in the films, and they'll check to see if a building is clear, and then once they've checked it, they'll send out their pilots out of the machines to investigate the buildings, which is another element of the horror, because you can actually see the aliens come out of their machines. That would be really cool if they do include that. I haven't seen gameplay of that yet, but I will keep an eye on it. Obviously this presents a question. Why not just stay in one spot and avoid detection? It's a good question, and one I can answer very simply. Just look at the bottom left of the screen. You need to eat, drink and sleep, meaning that if you hold up in a supermarket, you might be able to hang out there for quite some time, but not permanently. If you somehow manage to not get killed or captured, you will eventually run out of food and you will have to move on to a new area just to look for more supplies. Not only that, you'll need to sleep somewhere that you won't get caught, so you'll need to move out of populated areas where there's less likelihood of the aliens being. This forces you to move around and keeps you from always being safe from harm, which I want to say I absolutely love that. It just keeps you on your toes constantly, and you might not necessarily be able to stay outside of the towns either. There might not be enough supplies for you. You may need to go into town to get the items you need, and that's where most of the machines will be, and that's where you'll have to be extra careful. Also, the last main thing I want to point out, which is quite interesting, it seems like you'll be able to take cars and drive them around, which will obviously, you'll have to you'll be able to go quite far. I mean, hopefully it's quite a big map. I haven't really seen yet. But obviously, my main thing on this is if they're going to stay faithful to the movies, I'm guessing you'll have to fix cars up, because in the film, all electronic devices got fried, including some of these car parts. It stopped basically all the vehicles from working, and they all needed to be fixed. And they only managed to fix a few of them in the film, which is why cars were quite valuable back in this. I say back then, like it actually happened. Like in the film, there's people were fighting over cars and things like that because they were so rare to find a working one. So what I'm getting to really is I'd like to see if there's some kind of mechanic for fixing up vehicles as well, and obviously leading on from that, there's actually tanks in the game, which you can see in the trailer, where you'll actually be able to shoot at the tripods and eventually, it seems, even take them down, which I'm assuming is late in the war/harvest, but where the movies show the aliens eventually succumb to Earth's bacteria and they can't run the tripods effectively, meaning their shields drop, leaving them vulnerable to conventional attacks, which I'm presuming is like the end game. Now, this game is still in development and it's not out yet. It's made by a company called Flip Switch Games, and they are, from what I could tell, relatively inexperienced, having only released one other game on Steam, which has some mixed reviews, but it was their first game, I'm guessing. And the good thing is, it seems as though they are learning from their previous game and are definitely onto something here. That shouldn't really deter you if they're inexperienced. It seems like they are putting in serious effort to make a solid game here. And when you look at their gameplay trailer, where it's a bit buggy, versus their development updates, they are trying to improve on some of the bugginess, of the animations, and work on the AI behaviour, and also the graphics. Despite some parts being relatively basic, they've made the game look super good and creepy, especially at night. With the volumetric fog and the lighting, and let's not ignore the audio. The design of it actually really adds to the experience and the scariness of it. The horror element is I can already tell it's going to be a really creepy game. Now, as you can probably tell, I'm super excited to see when this game comes out, and I will be keeping a very close eye on the development of this game, so be sure to subscribe to my channel, where I'll be posting updates to this game's progress. And don't forget to follow the game on Steam and add it to your wishlist if you're interested, and also subscribe to their YouTube channel as well. Now, to the developer or developers, I'm not sure how many of you there are. If you do see this, first of all, thank you so much for taking one of my favourite film concepts and going through the effort of making a faithful game adaptation. I wish you the best of luck, though I don't think you will need it. You're already doing an excellent job from what I can tell. And if you ever want to lend me a pre-release copy of the game to review, I'll gladly give it a try. I am super stoked about this. I can't believe I only just stumbled across this. It's crazy. I was just looking at other things. I wish I'd discovered this a while ago, though actually I would have been waiting longer and it probably would have been even harder to look for this game. So yeah, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little first look at the War of the Worlds game. If you enjoyed this video and are looking forward to future videos on it, obviously give this video a like and let me know. And yeah, until next time, stay safe, don't get killed, or even worse, don't get caught.